What is going on, guys? Sports Runs on Diesel back at you here with another video. And I know it's been a minute since I last did a video. It's been a crazy and busy summer for me at where I work. And I'm just blessed to be back and doing more videos for you guys. But let's get right into it. We're going to be talking about the playoffs, the NBA playoffs today. And Lakers and Heat both have a 3-1 series lead. And the real question is can Denver against LA, can Denver do it again? They lost last night by 6. And Anthony Davis, of course, did his usual thing, going off for 30-plus points. By the way, when Anthony Davis has 30 or more points, the Lakers are 6-0 in the playoffs when he scores 30 or more points. Keep that in mind. The Lakers are also 52-0 when they have a lead going into the fourth quarter. So that tells you the Lakers are not going to lose many games, and especially with LeBron and Anthony Davis there at the helm, there's no way on earth that I can see the Lakers losing 3 straight games. It's going to take something like Jamal Murray going off like he did against the Utah Jazz in the first round of the playoffs for Denver to even ultimately have a chance. And then they have to find a way to keep the hone down on Anthony Davis. And honestly, LeBron James has been fantastic in this series. Anthony Davis has been spot on. The game-winning 3 in Game 2, which, Denver was so close to tying that series up. And I think this series would have been completely different. I think this could be 2-2 going into Game 5 tomorrow night. Unfortunately, no. Anthony Davis hit a clutch three-pointer, and that puts Lakers up 2-0 instead of it being tied 1-1. So Denver, Jeremy Grant, I feel for him so much because he's guarding LeBron James and then he's guarding Anthony Davis. And it's like he has the undaunting task of what no one else wants to deal with. Paul Millsap has dealt with Anthony Davis. Jokic has guarded Anthony Davis. I mean, they're kind of like switching around defensively on LeBron and AD, but it has not been enough for them to disrupt the Lakers game. And honestly, you got Rondo, who is a crazy point guard who drops dimes like I don't even know. But you got Rondo, who is a great facilitator in the offense. You got LeBron, who is the ultimate facilitator. Anthony Davis up there catching lobs. They switched Dwight Howard to the starting lineup last night, and that ultimately worked out. He had a double-double, had put-back dunks, a lot of offensive rebounds for Dwight Howard, and, I think that was possibly ultimately too much for Jokic and company, for the big men down low of the Denver Nuggets. I'd like to see better defense out of Michael Porter Jr. if he's a better one-on-one defender, if he disrupts passes and disrupts possessions for the Lakers, that could be a big thing. But for me, I just don't see the Lakers losing 3 in a row. I do ultimately see the Lakers being in the finals, plain and simple. Now over to the Eastern Conference side, we got the Celtics, we got the Miami Heat. This series, accumulatively score-wise, is 441-441. Miami's up 3-1 in the series. Can the Celtics do what Denver has done twice in these playoffs and come back from a 3-1 deficit? It's going to be tough because Dragic, Hero, Jaylen Brown has done a fantastic job on Duncan Robinson. They've gotten him into foul trouble. Jaylen in Game 4, literally Duncan Robinson came around the screen, was wide open, and because Jaylen jumped and tried to contest a shot, it forced Duncan to move over. No sooner he moved over, Jaylen jumped and contested it again. And he's done a fantastic job on Duncan Robinson. And Duncan Robinson has struggled in this series. I think he had 3 points in game 4. But the guy who has ultimately killed, absolutely destroyed the Celtics is Goran Dragic, the Slovenian. He has been unreal. And the one game he didn't have over 20 points was Game 3, which the Celtics won. But it's like Goran Dragic this season has averaged over 22 points a game against the Celtics. He loves playing against the Celtics. He has no issues playing against this team because he's such a crafty player, and he's so good at creating contact. drawing contact. It's kind of like Kyle Lowry and Fred VanVleet. They use their bodies so well, and Dragic is the same way. Like that 4-point play he had in game 4 there. Oh my God. I mean, like he went right up on Gordon Hayward. Gordon Hayward did not have the momentum to slow down. And it's a 4-point play just like that. So Dragic has been huge. Obviously, Tyler Hero was the big player in game 4 with the 37 points. The guy couldn't miss in the second half. And there was nothing the Celtics could do defensively to slow down Tyler Hero. He looked like Luka Doncic because Luka Doncic does whatever he wants. He plays at his own pace. And Tyler Hero looked like that. He looked like he was playing at his own pace, coming around screens, hitting threes, using both hands on layups, floaters, mid-range. He was hitting everything. And honestly, when you have a guy that hot, the basket looks like the ocean to you when you're that hot. And Tyler Hero, I tell you right now, he could be a guy that we could talk about for years to come if he continues to play like this coming off the bench. But Miami's only playing 7 guys, and the Celtics are playing like 8, 9 guys. I'd love to see them incorporate Cantor or, obviously they're not going to do, I know everyone wants to see Taco. I know that's not going to happen. I'd like to see them involve Cantor more in the second half of this series. But tonight's a big game, game 5, and will we see the Celtics? The Celtics could force game 7. You never know. There's no home court advantage, obviously, and you can obviously tell. The whole Toronto series the Celtics played, technically the away team in all 7 of those games won. Boston won the first 2 games, and that was in Toronto. That would have been in Toronto. Toronto won the second 2 games. Those would have been in Boston. Vice versa. You get the idea. There's no such thing as home court advantage anymore in the NBA bubble. So Jimmy Butler's been a shell of himself in this series. He hasn't had to go off because, I think he scored 20 points or more twice in this series. And it's like, he hasn't had to go off. He's been more of a facilitator because guys like Hero, Dragic, they're going off in this series, and it's been a struggle to watch the Celtics. And then plus Miami's zone defense has absolutely destroyed the Celtics. The Celtics hit 59% of their field goals against Miami's zone defense in game 3. And game 4, I don't even think it was 35%. And honestly, Miami's going to go to their strengths, and that is playing that zone defense and being disruptive on the defensive end. And Boston could not handle the zone defense in game 4. Too many turnovers, and that ultimately costed them game 4. But we'll see what happens here tonight. As I always say, we will see what happens in game 5 here. And Celtics got to get it going here somehow. Hayward's getting his legs back under him. But if they can win game 5, you just never know what can happen. And the same thing with the Nuggets. We've seen them do it twice. They could do it again. You just never know. But thank you guys so much for your time. I appreciate you guys following me on whatever social media network I'm on, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. I appreciate you guys following me. Please leave a like and subscribe if you haven't done that already. Stay tuned for more content. I'm going to be talking about football as much as I want. I'll probably touch on fantasy football and what to expect this season. You obviously know what to expect. You obviously see Mahomes going off. Russell Wilson, I don't know how he's gone this long in the league and he hasn't had one single MVP vote. And 9 touchdowns, 1 interception. He looks fantastic. Aaron Rodgers looks great. But the biggest issue in the NFL is injuries, and we saw that in week 2. Barkley's gone. Nick Bosa. McCaffrey's out with an ankle injury. Some of the big-name players, not on the offensive side of the ball, but on the defensive side of the ball as well, are down with injuries. And unfortunately, this is why the preseason is such a big thing. But I will touch on that when we get to that next video, which is coming up in the next day or so. But stay tuned for that video. Thank you guys so much for your time. I will see you guys all in the next one. Deuces.